Hey guys, good evening. Give me just a couple seconds to get this set up. I am streaming from my phone this evening, so fingers crossed we're not going to have as many of the problems. I am so sorry, you guys. There we go. I am so sorry you guys can't really see my since I am doing this via phone. We only get one camera, but like I said, hopefully we're not going to have the same issues that we had last week where we ended up streaming on the phone anyway. So what I think I'm going to do for this is I'm going to end up moving the camera a lot so that you guys can get kind of multiple views of what's going on. So it's a little bit of a party tonight because 7-inch Kara Volume 2 hit its funding goal on Kickstarter. And I was seriously sweating it because honestly, being in Louisiana made it a lot harder to promote and talk about the comic. And then being in Louisiana for an extra week unplanned due to a car accident did not make that one bit easier. In fact, we were supposed to be back, last Thursday?
Last Thursday.
Not this Thursday that just happened, but the Thursday before that. And we're going to be here till Tuesday. So it added a whole week and some change. So I can't really recommend Farm Bureau if you're on the market for insurance because they did not take my concerns about being from not Louisiana very seriously. And I was not really very happy with their conflict resolution nor how the person I talked to on the phone handled it. So I can't really recommend Farm Bureau as an insurance agency. So for our celebration tonight, it's definitely a bit more abbreviated than what I really had planned on doing. I wanted to have some snacks, I wanted to have some party hats, and I wanted to do some painting for you guys. I just do not see that happening given the connection issues. So what I do have instead is a smaller version of that. So I have an absolutely adorable mini pecan pie. We've got a cup for reference. And I also have a very Kara-sized petit four here. In fact, I have drawn her eating petit fours many times in the past. And I've also got an assortment of tiny things from Demitasse cups and saucers to a miniature tea set. So help me celebrate this evening. So what I want to do is, I'm sure you guys don't want to just like stare down at food. I'm not really a big mukbang person myself, mostly because I just am kind of uncomfortable eating in front of people I don't know really well. So I'm going to do my best to keep it interesting. If you guys have any questions about running a Kickstarter or self-publishing your own comics or drawing watercolor comics, let me know. Tonight is the night to ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. I am having difficulty pulling the stream up on my computer, so Joseph is going to kindly field the questions for me. So what I want to do is I want to change the camera angle. So I apologize. I'm going to have to cover the screen for a moment. And try very hard. I have no idea how many times I have just dropped it. Okay, now I'm going to do something even more awkward. It's me! It's me in my childhood, somewhat embarrassing bedroom, covered in Gundam Wing posters and posters that I drew myself. Gotta put the case back last week. That was so embarrassing for me. You're also going to be able to see the mess that is my childhood bedroom. So I kind of want to have this so you guys are, you really can see the mess. Hey Nessie, thank you. I am super happy and relieved because it was making me crazy anxious. I had all these fun things planned all these things I wanted to do, and then my car got hit by another car, and it's been in a shop for a week with kind of like, oh no, I'll fix it when I get to it, which is not good news. And it's actually been really hard to do work here because it's very humid and it's just kind of hard to find a workspace. So when we're doing the streams, I have a folding table that we set up for the streams. But other than that, it's been kind of a challenge. So let me see if I can make some room for you guys on the tabletop. What I would have loved to have done is it would have been really cool if we didn't have COVID. Kind of like how I wanted to have a launch party, like a real launch party with like pizza and cupcakes and stuff. It would have been really cool to have like a celebration, right? And have like pizza and invite my friends who live within driving distance and just kind of take a moment to celebrate, because Kickstarters are a lot of work and they're a lot of promotion, even if you don't really get to do things the way you kind of planned. And Kickstarters normally don't go according to plan, but this one really didn't go according to plan. So, man, having the backdrop visible is really kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. Normally I have, what's it called? The V something? I want to say Vsauce, and I know it's not Vsauce.
VCam.
VCam. Normally I have VCam, like, cut me out, but that didn't happen here. We'll have Kara join us this evening because you make lemonade when you've got lemons. And all the goodies came from a little bakery called Chez Pierre, and it's in Metairie, Louisiana. And I don't know how many people have had Dr. Pepper out of historic demi-tasse cups, but your girl is going to do that tonight. That's right, Pinky's out for the Dr. Pepper.
Does it taste better?
No, it tastes worse. Actually, like it went flat because it's in an aluminum something, and I think it kind of made it release all of its bubbles. Yeah, maybe. It's not sour, it just tastes flat. And the Petit Four is actually really cute. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to find Petit Fours. I don't know why. It's just COVID has made finding all sorts of things kind of weird. And my family likes to go out a lot, which means we are wearing masks a lot. Oh yeah, Joseph, you might as well like lean over and say hi. I think he's trying to hide behind me, but he's on the computer keeping an eye on the chat. So what would have been super duper cute and under better circumstances, maybe even feasible, would be to have more teeny tiny plates. What was some of the work I had to do before the launch? I'm curious as to all the beginning steps for it. So there was a lot. So for me, I finished the whole comic pretty much before the launch. So it wasn't like I was trying to do the comic and also launch it. And it wasn't like I was trying to get people to pay for a comic I hadn't even drawn yet. So all of the comic work, the drawing, the writing, the painting, that had all been finished. So then we laid out the book, and we did that using InDesign. And I'm familiar with InDesign, but I don't really like it. And I'm more familiar with Affinity's Publisher. I use that for laying out my zines. But Publisher doesn't produce InDesign files, which most printers want to work with. And Affinity doesn't produce, or I haven't found how to produce PostScript files that you then can convert to PDFs. So it has some drawbacks. So we used InDesign for that. And that also was a lot of work. And I also painted a bunch of new watercolor illustrations for volume 2. I don't know if you guys are like me, but even like I will have finished art and then decide to do completely new art because I'll be like, oh, this is old. It's not as good as I would like it to be. Yeah, something else that was important, but not necessarily, well, it was one of those things that wasn't like immediately important for Kickstarter, but ended up being really useful, is like Joseph said, we requested blurbs from other comic artists. So we asked 4 comic artists for blurbs, We asked Jersey Droid. We asked Zach
Yolanda.
Giolongo. There we go. I always want to say Galliano because there's a Galliano, Louisiana, and I grew up hearing that word a lot. We asked Studio Kaiju, who do the comic Nove, and we asked Chris Paulson, who does the webcomic Precocious. And two of them got the blurbs in. Jersey got his in early enough that we could actually include it in the Kickstarter video by the second week. And that's really useful because people want to hear good things about what they're buying, but they don't want to just hear you say good things about your own work. So that's actually something I got criticized for. Somebody dinged me on YouTube for referring to my own work as beautiful, which, I think it's important to find beauty in your work, even if your art isn't where you want it to be, because it's that beauty that will keep you making art even when you're depressed or even when you don't necessarily have like a lot of people reading your stuff or you're not getting a lot of feedback. Seeing beauty and deriving enjoyment in your own art keeps you motivated and keeps you good. So legitimately, I encourage all artists to try and find something they love about their art. It doesn't have to be beautiful. Like some people intentionally make art that is intended to be grotesque, but finding fun in your art and loving your art are really important. However, I got their point. Their point was like, maybe you should include some quotes from people who have enjoyed this and have said positive things about it. So I didn't totally miss the point. I just got distracted a little bit by the point. So fortunately, Joseph's actually been saving positive quotes from people over the years. So we had some that we could use to help promote the project. So it wasn't just me saying my work is beautiful, but other people saying my work is beautiful or that it's inspiring or it's good for young readers. So getting those kind of blurbs, collecting that kind of positive feedback is really useful, even if it doesn't necessarily seem immediately useful. And then the two things that are like Kickstarter specific that stand out to me as being like things you need to do before you hit that launch button are you need to have a good Kickstarter video and you need to have a good, I'm gonna plug my phone in as I lick my fingers. Has that made that weird for you guys yet? Like with COVID, it makes it weird for me. I can't watch commercials now where like someone opens the door and they're not wearing masks. I'm just like, oh no. Anyway though, so two of the big things that you need to have before launching a Kickstarter are you need a video and you need your story written. So the video, we recorded the whole video on my cell phone. So you don't have to like go out and spend a bunch of money. You don't really need expensive camera equipment. But if you want to have a good video, you want to think creatively, there are so many comic Kickstarters out there. So for me, it was really important to find a way to make my video stand out a little bit more. And it was also really important for me to find a way to make it reflect who I am and my comic and what makes my comic special, to me at least. Because I've always been a big believer that if you do work you love and you're excited about it, you're going to find other people who like it for the same reason. So it was really important for me to create something that felt me. And I think we really succeeded in that. And it took so much work. The opening shot where I'm like peering through the bushes and there's like a little Kara paper child sitting there looking very cute where I'm like, I'll introduce you to the miniature world of 7-inch Kara. That took 3 days to shoot. And we had like, almost 100 takes of me saying that exact same thing, almost. I did ad-lib a lot, but saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And I think the shot we ended up going with was one from the middle. And the more we recorded footage for it, the easier it got. And, excuse me, that's that Dr. Pepper. The fewer takes we actually had to do because we kind of developed, Joseph and I kind of developed a recording rhythm together, and we were meshing together better, and also the other shots were just easier for the most part. What would you say the second hardest shot for the Kickstarter video was?
The last.
Oh, where I'm standing in front of the bookcase, and it's like, I need your support to make 7-inch Kara possible. And it started to feel like me shaking the tin cup. And it was it was getting to the point where we had recorded it so many times I was starting to crack up and I couldn't keep a straight face. That took about like 14 takes to get one that we wanted to use. Now, a shot I thought would have been harder, but wasn't, was the throne of sketchbooks. So the way Joseph had it envisioned was that I'd be sitting on this huge single stack of sketchbooks way at the top, and the camera would pan all the way up. I'm afraid of heights, and I know that sketchbooks, when they're piled, tend to, right? So I didn't want to do a single stack, but I was willing to do 2 stacks. But the way I had it in my head was I thought I had enough sketchbooks to build like a sketchbook throne, and I was going to be like, yes, look at all my sketchbooks. But didn't have quite enough sketchbooks of the same size to build a sketchbook throne. So I thought that shot was going to take a lot longer. It came together faster than I thought it would. However, I looked so smug in the final shot, and that really wasn't my intention. I was like laughing at how ridiculous it was that I was, and there was like ants crawling on my legs and stuff. So I'm like laughing at myself for like deciding to do this. Yeah, completed sketchbooks. Well, I'm not one of those. I am not super bad about not completing sketchbooks because I buy cheap Blick sketchbooks. So I don't care if they're full of bad art. So for the voiceover sections, what we really did is I used a lavalier mic, which is one of those.
Could be using that now.
No, because it's dead, remember?
No. It doesn't work with your desktop.
Hang on a second. I'm going to grab my lavalier mic for you guys. It's all tangled with the webcam I'm not using today because of internet connectivity possible issues. But anyway, it's like a small, fairly inexpensive microphone. You can get these on Amazon, no problem, like less than $30. I used my lavalier mic plugged into my desktop to record audio into Adobe Audacity, but you don't have to use Adobe Audacity. There are probably audio editing programs available for phones and tablets that are good, and I just don't know what they are. But we used Audacity, but you, doesn't Sony Vega, Audition, there we go. Audacity, I think, is the Mac one. Doesn't Sony make like a fairly affordable photo editing suite?
Audacity is free.
Oh, Audacity's free. Heck yeah. So I guess that's a plug for Audacity, which I've never used. So we recorded in Audition and then brought that into Adobe Premiere. But you don't have to use all of the more fancy video editing stuff. A lot of that is left over from when I was editing most of my videos using Premiere. Now I edit most of my videos on the phone. So anyway, it took about 2 weeks of working all the time. So if you compressed all the time we worked on video, it took about 2 weeks to do that. And Joseph used a lot of motion graphics. What site did you use for the motion graphics?
Motion Array.
He purchased the motion graphics from Motion Array, and we also used a font, Mystical Woods, that we purchased from.
It was free from my.
Oh, free from My Fonts, and the song was a free song as well. So I have it angled. I'm sorry if it's like bothering you. Let me try to fix it, but I also don't know how well I can get it to stay.
Turn off the ceiling fan.
Yeah, we can turn off the ceiling fan. Would you do that? I'm also like trying intentionally to hide the unmade bed that's in the background because I didn't realize.
Is this the correct one?
Just try. I got you, Indy. We're turning off the fan. I'm sorry about that. I cannot actually angle the camera out of it because the way I have it balanced, it's on a table, and then there's a dresser, so it's like propped up against the dresser, but it won't stand straight up. So, but that should cease to be a problem really soon, and I'm sorry about that. And hi, Tali. Good evening. So, yeah, if you're doing a Kickstarter video, I would allocate like 2 weeks to a month. If you're not comfortable being on camera, if you're not comfortable reading lines, if you're not comfortable ad-libbing lines, I would give myself, if I were you, I would give myself like a month to do it instead. Because I do so much YouTube stuff and I also teach, and I did a little bit of a smidgen of acting when I was an undergrad, and I also was a SCAD tour guide for a while. I'm really comfortable being on camera and kind of like using myself to sell my work, but it still took 2 weeks, and there were a lot of takes we couldn't use. And when I was recording audio for voiceover, I would give at least 5 different takes so that we had stuff to choose from. So the video is one of the big things you need to prep for, because a good Kickstarter video can help your comic project stand out, because there's a lot of comic projects on Kickstarter. The other big thing is your Kickstarter story. And when I read back through mine, I actually have started noticing like grammatical things or things that I would tweak. And I spent about 2 weeks working on that as well. And I had about a dozen people read over it and give me feedback, and there's still errors in it. So you might want to go over it even more with a fine-tooth comb. But some important parts of the Kickstarter story are: you want to sell the comic you're working on, but not only do you want to sell the comic you're working on, you also want to talk about yourself, because Kickstarter is a lot about promoting what you, in addition to what you're doing. So Nessie said the video is my biggest concern. Would you read the rest? It disappeared on me.
Yeah, just because it's not as I'm not as familiar with cameras and things, but I see how important it is.
I am not super familiar with cameras either, and that's part of the reason we did it on the phone. Honestly, I have a Galaxy S7, so it's a 5-year-old phone, and it did okay. We had to adjust the settings, so I can do follow-up videos where I talk about that a little bit more, because I really want to help make it more accessible to more people, if possible. I think comics is already gatekeep. There's enough gatekeeping with comics. I want to help break some of those barriers down. And being a girl from rural southern Louisiana, I know how hard it is to get comic projects out there to the rest of the country. And I also know that our options are limited sometimes, as to like job opportunities and being able to meet people and make contacts. So Kickstarter and the internet as a whole is a great way to kind of break down some of those barriers and to be able to get our work out there to people who will enjoy it or might benefit from it. So if there's ways that I can help make it more accessible, I want to do that. So yeah, cell phone and a lot of editing.
Get
And
back to the celebration.
well, talking about the Kickstarter is part of the celebration, and I'm happy to answer people's questions about it, because I know there's a lot of artists. Oh, that is a good point, though. Yeah, that's right. That is what the blog's for. So
Yeah, in the chat.
I do have a Kickstarter and Patreon exclusive blog, and it's going to launch after the campaign ends, and the campaign ends on Monday. Woo! So close! So close. The campaign ends on Monday, and I plan on talking about all of this in depth using a combination of blogs and vlogs. So for different learning styles, like I can't really watch videos and follow along. I need written stuff. And for the people who can't really do the written stuff, but they prefer like the moving pictures, there'll be a little bit of A and B for everybody, but that's only going to be available to people who either back the Kickstarter or support my work on Patreon, because I already put a lot of free stuff out there. But I don't mind giving you guys a little bit of taste so you kind of know what to look forward to. So in that blog, I want to talk about getting the books printed. And I've talked about that a little bit. So this is a proof copy. It was printed through CreateSpace. CreateSpace is who I use for volume 1, but I'm not happy with their price point. Words, my poor brain. So the goal with funding this on Kickstarter, was so that we could go with an offset printer who can do bulk printing. So we're looking to order 1,000 copies, and that's gonna give us a major price break that wouldn't be available or accessible with CreateSpace. So that's one of the reasons we went with the Kickstarter. Also, I've been making and sharing free content for 10 years now, and we kind of felt like it was time to have a Kickstarter and to offset some of the costs that we pay up front for things that people either enjoy for free or enjoy at a minimal cost. So I am like, seriously, you guys do not know how stoked I am that the Kickstarter went, like we were funded. I would have loved to hit some of those stretch goals like I want to do. We're not done yet. I want to do fabric bandana maps, like of the neighborhood and where all the Lilliputians live, so people can kind of take them into their own backyards and mark where they think all the Lilliputians live. And I did a Lilliputian spotting tour as a stream a couple weeks ago. I really liked it, but I'm just not happy with the video quality, because since I'm streaming from Louisiana and I'm on AT&T, the two do not mix. So the video quality is not what I would have liked, but I would love to recreate the spotting tour at a later date. And I also have stretch goals where I read volume 1 and 2 on stream and answer people's questions, and then also do a very heavily edited, very nicely produced version for people to read along at home. And I also want to reprint volume 1 through the same printer that I'm going to do volume 2 with. And that benefits me. It doesn't necessarily benefit you. So to benefit you guys, I'm going to do, if we unlock that goal, Kara and Tanner paper dolls. And I saw that Indy mentioned Drawing with Waffles did a paper doll, like a clothing capsule or a capsule wardrobe. And what a capsule wardrobe is just 5 or 6 select pieces that kind of work well with one another. I did a Kara paper doll 8 years ago, and it sold decently well, but because volume 1 wasn't out yet, people were kind of like, okay, it's a tiny person paper doll. That's cute. All right, moving on. So I would really love to redo the paper dolls and have a boy paper doll and a girl paper doll and have interchangeable clothing for them. So anyway, thank you, Indy. Indy said, hugs for Kara. Yes, big hugs for little Kara. It was Hug Your Tiny Day. Like earlier in the month, I was out of town, so I missed it. But the gentlest little hugs for little Kara. And thank you so much, Indy. So I've been chattering, but as Joseph said, less talking and more celebration. So going way back. I know, I'm excited. I'm super duper relieved too, because I was seriously sweating it. So I'm going to talk about the story, and then I'm going to talk about the Kickstarter slump. So the story part needs to talk about what you're selling. It needs to talk about who you are as a person. So if you do outreach, if you volunteer, if there's a way that relates to what you're kickstarting, like let's say you make comics and you teach comics at a local library and you don't get paid for it, you might want to mention that in your Kickstarter story, because it shows how passionate you are about comics. It also means people who may have encountered your work before, but they're not sure if it's you, make those connections. So talking about yourself and your experiences a little bit, not too much, is important in your Kickstarter story. What is also really important is talking about how you plan to spend the money once you get it. And that's important because, sorry about that, when people are supporting you on Kickstarter, it's not just money that goes into your pocket. It's money that goes into producing the things you say you're going to produce. So it's really important to be able to show how you plan on doing that, which means you need to do your research first. And honestly, when you're talking about stretch goals, when you're talking about making merch, it is really important to do your research first anyway. Not just to show your backers, but so you don't end up spending money you don't have, which is a really big problem with comic Kickstarters, where they raise an astronomical amount of money, but the stretch goals they unlock, okay, let's use 1001 Nights as a salient example, right? This is a 3-volume anthology Kickstarter. It's one I was part of, so I know a thing or two about it. Oh, thank you, Calvin. And it blew out of the water. Wasn't it one of the first Kickstarters that broke like a certain monetary milestone for comics? Huh?
I said maybe the first comic Kickstarter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tech Kickstarters make a lot of money, and that's an interesting topic because often they cannot deliver on what they promise, which is another big thing with Kickstarter. But the cool thing about comic Kickstarters is we're not inventing a robot here. You know, we are just raising money to fund a book. And while that's a huge endeavor for an individual, it's not at all impossible. It is not a road that's never been trodden before. So your chances of getting the book you paid for are really high with comic Kickstarters. The success rate for these things is one of the best success rates, and that's one of the reasons Kickstarter really loves comic projects, because we deliver. We promise a thing, we make the thing, we deliver the thing, success.
You
And
also are more likely to get funded than most.
because it's such a it's both a dream of a lot of people, and it's a very achievable thing if you've already got the work done. So yeah, comic Kickstarters are pretty cool. I think music Kickstarters are also probably pretty similar too, like being able to make an album. So in your story, you talk about what you're selling, who you are, and why people should give you their money, how that money's going to be spent. You should also talk about any stretch goals that you might have in mind. And see, this is where Joseph had to keep reeling me in, because I was like, stretch goals? That means all the con merch I've always wanted to make but couldn't justify because fan art sells at cons and comics do not. Yeah, like Calvin said, tech Kickstarters are usually a scam. Yeah, like the self-filling water bottle, that's a big example. There's also like a personal AC unit that the physics behind it don't even make any sense. And there's like a million robot Kickstarters that never deliver. And if you watch enough of those like failed Kickstarter YouTube channels, you start to notice that the common thread is it's marketing people who know how to market something. They make beautiful Kickstarter campaigns. The videos are gorgeous. And they don't have any of the technical ability to actually produce the thing. So the very first step they're going to do is find someone who can produce it for them. And then half the time they go with a manufacturing company that rips them off and sells that information. And then you see it on AliExpress. So I haven't backed any tech Kickstarters, but I have backed a lot of comic Kickstarters. In fact, if you look at my Kickstarter page, I backed 80, which kind of took me by surprise. I was like, I know I backed a lot, but 80. I think the only non-comic Kickstarters I've backed is I backed the Fidget Cube, which they delivered, and I backed Stephanie Law's little ceramic palette before she sold to Etcher. So I have the Kickstarter version of that. Oh, and Chameleon, when they did fine liners, they did it through Kickstarter. So I think I've backed like 3 non-comic Kickstarters out of 80. But Kickstarter and Kickstarter Comics has really opened up the world of comics a lot. I'm a print comic kind of gal. I love web comics, but I like reading them in Dead Tree format. And Kickstarter is a great way for me to support my friends who have Dead Tree comics to sell. In fact, probably most of the comics I buy at cons were paid for using a Kickstarter. So we said... Oh, and risks and challenges. And for comic Kickstarter, the risks are, if you've already done the work, the risks are pretty minimal. You do need to acknowledge that there are risks. And also, like with COVID, it kind of makes overseas printing a little dicey right now. So that's also something to consider. But it was really important to me to try and find a local printer, and also to try and find a printer who can print using sustainable methods. And printing is not the most eco-friendly thing. I mean, we're printing on dead trees, right? But it was important to me to try and find a printer who uses eco-friendly inks. So if they do end up in the waterways, they're not going to poison all the fish, stuff like that. So another element that maybe isn't discussed enough is your graphics. And there's all kinds of different routes you can take on Kickstarter for what kind of graphics you want to create.
All this is going to be in the blog, right?
Yeah, all this is going to be in the blog in way more detail. So what I would recommend you do is find 5 comic Kickstarters that you like the look of, or maybe find 4 and then 1 that is doing super popular, but is something you don't necessarily, that wouldn't be something you would buy, but it's doing really well. And just analyze what you like about their video, what you like about the layout of the page, and what you like about the tiers. So it was a good experience for me. It's kind of like taking swim lessons for 10 years, but you've never really swum by yourself, and then going out and swimming in the ocean and actually reaching the buoy you were trying to swim to. Because I've been really cowardly about putting myself out there in a way where I could catastrophically, in my opinion, fail. And another thing about Kickstarter is just because your first campaign isn't successful, there's absolutely no reason why you can't retool a little bit and relaunch. One of my really good friends actually needed to do that, and her second campaign went really well and it did a lot better. So sometimes it's just when you're launching. And that was one of the big concerns this year.
Celebration.
What? How do y'all want me to celebrate? Eat cake? Eat cake and...
You're just doing a vlog about the process.
All right, fair. Sorry, that's the arena I'm more comfortable with, is just answering questions.
I mean, why don't you talk about the best moment during the Kickstarter, other than when you heard it was funded?
Actually, the best moment over that was the first 3 days, because I'd spent all this time. Yeah, don't choke, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, I want to talk about launching during COVID in a minute, because that was like a whole thing. My best moment in the first 3 days, because we just spent like a month working on it, and I kind of stopped posting art because I was mostly working on the Kickstarter, and I was making a lot of videos for the Kickstarter, and all of my time was going into either laying out the book or Kickstarter stuff. So I'd kind of gotten divorced, not in a bad way, but you know, when you're working on stuff and you're not able to check in as often as you would like. So the support I saw in the first 3 days was really touching and overwhelming in a positive way. And it really meant a lot to me. And it really gave me a huge confidence boost. I often don't have a lot of confidence, especially in the art world, because the kind of stuff I make has never really had a place in comics, and it's not even like I do avant-garde stuff. It's just, it doesn't look like other middle grade comics, and I'm not friends with the other middle grade creators, and we don't go to the same shows, and I never really found my footing with agents and with publishers, so the self-published route was kind of the only way I could do 7-inch Kara, and I kind of accepted it. But you never get over, like, when you've been doing that for like 10 years and you've had a lot of failures and a lot of nothing happenings, you really start to lose faith in yourself. And I almost quit last year. I almost quit in January. I almost just said, I'm tired. I'm done. I'm tired of people sending me nasty emails. I'm tired of people DMing me to tell me they hate me. Like, I'm done. And then we went to go see Weathering with You. And I cried through the whole thing. And it kind of affirmed that it's okay to want to make comics because they're the comics you want to read. So people wanting to support Kara and wanting to support the work that I was doing on Kara and help me get Volume 2 printed, and people wanting to own Volume 2 or own Volume 1 and Volume 2 really meant a lot to me. And it was just something I really needed at the time. So, launching during COVID.
Don't go into it now. I added it as a section of your blog.
Okay, fair. All right, Joseph just added it to the Kickstarter blog. It definitely was brave, and I was so anxious about it. I'll just say that. Also, not only did I launch during COVID, but the campaign went on while Joseph and I were getting married. So it was one of those, like, I'm not a gambling woman. I don't take a lot of risks, but it's like, I'm going to put all my chips on the table and I'll either die or I'll live, but something will happen. And we got married, and the book so far is funded. So, yay! But that could have gone catastrophically wrong, and it still feels like fate threw a lot of hurdles, and we still managed to overcome them. So that's also like a good shot in the arm. I'm not one of those people who believes, like, if you just try, you can achieve it, because I sure tried for 10 years and achieved very little. But it's nice when things do come together. And I am most concerned right now, I can't even think, honestly, about overseas and DHL.
That doesn't sound like celebratory talk.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tali. I appreciate that.
Why don't you talk about some of the ways in which people have supported you? You mentioned that you got endorsements.
Yes, I got endorsements, which...
Sam has
Wait. I'm going to get there. You're going to have to remind me, but I'm going to get there. So with the endorsements, the thing people don't realize is that positive word of mouth is worth its weight in gold. You can't pay for somebody. I mean, yeah, you can pay for endorsements. I'm not going to pretend. I've seen Amazon. But like someone who genuinely likes your work and genuinely likes you and wants to see you succeed, when they say good things about you, especially to people who trust them, you could not pay for better marketing, because I have bought so many things because someone I really trusted was like, I love it, you have to get it. And so many of the things that I really enjoy were recommendations from friends who were like, I love it, you have to get it. So endorsements was a huge form of support that really meant a lot to me. And they really came at a good time because I was able to use their positive words to convince new people to give my work a try. And I mean, to be fair, the first 6 chapters and counting are up online for free. Anybody can read it. You can see for yourself if you like it or not. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to trick people into it's like a secretly bad comic or whatever. It's up there. It's out there. But their endorsements really help a lot, and it's actually been very useful in my Pinterest marketing. So thank you for your kind words. Sam, my friend Kabocha, also was a huge help, because I basically had to pass the baton for my Discord server, the Paintbox, over to Kabocha for while I'm in Louisiana, because I have very limited internet access and I can't be on Discord as much as I would normally be on Discord. But not only that, but Kabocha has also just been hugely helpful in talking about Kara and promoting Kara and reminding people to check it out, and drawing really adorable art for the contest. And I haven't forgotten about sending out those things. I just haven't been at home long enough during the day to do it, but I haven't forgotten. I'm definitely going to do it. Hey, Hema, good evening. And
Hema's also been promoting.
yeah, Hema's been such a big help sharing stuff on Facebook. I super appreciate it. Like, seriously, people helping you out and boosting you and lifting you up is such a big, important help when you're doing a Kickstarter. And in the past, I've been able to do that same favor for people, and I hope to continue to be able to help other people. Because, like, look, let's be real here. It took me 6 years to draw this one. I'm not going to be popping out another comic Kickstarter next week. I have plenty of time to promote other people's comic projects and to talk about other people's comic projects. So lifting up other comic artists and being lifted up is one of the things. It's a petit four. It's a tiny cake. Is one of the things that I actually really do like about the comic industry. Like, I often say I love comics, I love comic artists, and I hate the industry. But the supportive nature of indie comics is one of the things I love. Throw another reminder out there.
I just said all the people who helped you.
Refresh my memory. Honestly, I was really touched and impressed by all of the really good. Like, there were a lot of really good entries in the Kara fan art contest. It was real. That's why I couldn't decide, because I felt it's like, do you like Oreos or do you like cake? And it's like, I love them both. I can't pick. So thank you guys for helping me decide on a winner. Loom definitely does deserve that prize. Starts at the beginning, 2x. I feel like I already talk way too fast, so it's like, oh, poor you. It's gonna definitely sound like a little chipmunk eating cake and talking about Kickstarter. What else, Joseph?
You could talk about what you plan on doing directly after the Kickstarter.
Well, to be real, so the Kickstarter ends on Monday, and my car is repaired on Tuesday. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all y'all cross your fingers, because it was supposed to be repaired on Friday, and that didn't happen, because I was supposed to be doing this stream in Nashville, and that didn't happen. But I am super grateful right now that AT&T has not dropped me on my head today, because that could still happen. Directly after the Kickstarter. Okay, so as soon as the car is done, we are driving the 8.5 hours back to Nashville, and then it is legitimately a toss-up between whether I will be. So there are some parts in Volume 2 that need some correction before they can go to the final printer. I mean, that's why we have approved, is so we can see all of the things that we kind of want to fix. But one of the things I'm going to point out to you guys is that there is a guest art gallery. Got to find it first. There's a guest art gallery in the back full of gorgeous art that I've commissioned or that friends have given to me over the years, and all of them are printed with their permission. They all know I'm including their work because I asked. Oh, look, here's Hima's! And what needs to be done in this section is, for some of these artists, I need to get the year that the piece was drawn, and I also need to put whatever name they currently use for their work. So, you know, that requires going to Twitter and checking what names people are using, because I want to be respectful, of course, and also including their website. So there's a little bit of digging I still have to do, and to get the back of the book, you know, as up to date as it can be for print material, because, you know, sometimes people change and grow and become new people. And since a book is static, you know, if someone in 2021 decides they want to go by a new name, they're ready for like a life change, the book isn't going to reflect that. But I can be as up to date as possible in 2020. And then there's also just some color issues. Like, some of these pages look really good online, and they look really good on my computer, and they look really good in person, and then they printed like, yeah. So, you know, fixing those and trying to adjust them. And I also have about 8 4-Koma comics I need to draw for the start of the book. So right after the introduction, there's going to be a section. See this? It says the story thus far. The next 8 pages are going to be cute little comical 4-Komas that kind of recap volume 1 in a way that if you read volume 1, it becomes kind of in-jokey. But that way, if a kid at the library checked out volume 2 and there wasn't volume 1, they wouldn't be like, what? So honestly, it's probably going to be a lot of packing because my lease is up right at the start of September. And we're moving back to Louisiana. So in that time, I'm also going to try to find a furnished apartment for us so that when we get to Louisiana, I can actually start working like that. So the next step after move is make those corrections, make the color corrections, draw the 4-Koma, and then get it sent off to the printer. So the reason I say December in fulfillment is just to give myself a buffer in case some of the local printers aren't taking new orders right now. I mean, that's a possibility with COVID. So there might be issues with overseas. Calvin kind of pointed that out earlier. That kind of ties into another. Oh, thank you. So this is part of a Demi-Tasse cup collection. I have a bunch of them, and after we get moved, I would love to show you guys these because they're all antiques. They were given to me by a family friend when I was a teenager, and I've kept them safe, although I think leaving Dr. Pepper in this is not keeping it safe. So let me. That is not dainty. But yeah, I'll show you guys a bunch of stuff. Actually, I want to give you guys a tour after we leave Move because I hope to have like a whole different studio setup that is worth looking at instead of the studio setup I currently have, which is not worth looking at. So getting volume 2 printed is like moving is number 1 important because the lease runs out, and then well, volume 1 is on Amazon, and volume 1 does have a Kindle version, and I think volume 2 is going to have a Kindle version too.
Yeah.
Now, what I don't like about Amazon handling it is it would have to be the CreateSpace version because I'm a really small distributor. And
the Kindle version wouldn't have to be through.
No, the Kindle version doesn't, but the print version might. But
no, it doesn't.
Wait! Joseph is working on a post about distributors like Diamond and Baker and Taylor, which are really important if you're an independent comic artist who wants to sell your comic and would like your comic to be sold by or not sold, but carried by libraries and schools and comic shops and Barnes and Noble. So that is another reason, if you are interested in indie comic publishing, that would be another reason to back, just to get access to that blog post. But one of the things I have been disappointed with volume 1 is that when I buy from CreateSpace, it's $9 a book. I've heard mixed things about Diamond since DC left and kind of formed their own thing, but it could really go either way. And regarding Diamond, there isn't a lose in that for me, other than the time it took to send the application and the 2 books we sent them. You know what I mean? Like, even if they're going out of business, they're not handling the stock. I'm handling the stock. They just handle orders from bookstores. So if their reach is bigger than mine, which, huh? Comic book store, sorry. And of course their reach is bigger than mine. I have like the smallest little baby, I have Kara reach, little 7-inch reach. There's not a lose there, but Baker and Taylor is really the better bet. And Baker and Taylor isn't just comic book shops, right? It's like bookstores like Barnes and Noble.
Baker and Taylor does not do comic book shops.
Okay, so Baker and Taylor doesn't even do comic book shops. And then Joseph has this whole marketing plan where he's going to call a bunch of comic book shops and see if they want to stock Kara. And that's another reason to back, because you'll gain access to that information as well. So you're not going to call? No, you were going to pay somebody to call, right?
Yeah.
And probably I was going to have to call, which steel my loins and just be prepared for rejection, because, hey, that's a lot of phone sales. So what sort of other celebratory things do people do when they're celebrating? Literally at my own birthday party, even at my own wedding, okay? At the wedding dinner after, the waitress didn't even know I was the bride. I was the only one wearing white. So I don't know how to do celebrations.
And you said you weren't planning on streaming very long anyway.
That's true. I didn't think my phone would last this long, so I'm impressed. So, y'all, cross your fingers for me, cross your toes, that the car is fixed on Tuesday.
Tell people about the Kickstarter.
Please tell people about the Kickstarter. It ends on Monday. We're in the final hours. If you haven't and you want a copy of Volume 1, a copy of Volume 2, if you want you as a Lilliputian portrait, please back. I do have digital tiers as well, and I added 2 new digital tiers, including a digital you as a Lilliputian, and I'd be more than happy to stream your commission. Yeah, I do not know what was up with that waitress, because she wouldn't refill my drinks, and she kept getting my food wrong, so I don't even know. But I don't know how to do like Becca-centric celebrations. I'm more comfortable celebrating other people. But yeah, cross your fingers and toes that my car gets fixed, because next Saturday, I'd like to kind of make up for lost time. And even though we're going to be busy packing, do an art stream, because I haven't been able to do those here, because every time I get it set up for an art stream, the internet connection dies. And that's why I was like, I'm not even jinxing it. I'm not going to try that tonight. So cross your fingers that next week we can have another art workshop. And if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions about the Kickstarter, you can find me on Discord. Joseph will pop a link to the paint box. And if you want to like change your Kickstarter order, I have some a la carte options where you can add books, you can add charms, you can add zines, you can add classes, you can add portraits, and you can add watercolor art to it. A la carte, just send me a message and adjust your pledge accordingly. And I have a dot going on where I'm keeping track of that. So, I've heard Antarctic Press is dying in the U.S. So, they used to publish a lot of stuff like, I know Fred Gallagher worked with them and Ben Dunn worked with them, but they haven't really had as much of a foothold in the U.S. as they did in the 90s. Yes, Joseph just shared a link to the Paintbox Discord. Too bad I do not read as fast as my screen disappears. But have I tried Scholastic? Whew, Tali, have I tried Scholastic? I have not only sent them my portfolio, and I'm sorry about the buzzing. I thought I turned off Discord on my phone as well, but I did not. Not only have they seen my portfolio, and I've had portfolio reviews with them, but I have pitched Kara to them. But honestly, at this point, I'm not really interested in doing Kara with a publisher because it is already halfway done. And unless you're willing to take it as it is, I don't want to retool it. But I would love to do something custom, and I've pitched custom projects to Scholastic as well. I'm really just not on their radar. I would love to work for them. In fact, I would really like to do a make your own graphic novel book with their Klutz imprint. And I'm going to try hard to push that one. But yeah, Scholastic doesn't really do distribution of existing properties. They like to do their own because then they own more of the rights. See, distribution is literally just getting it out to shops and taking a commission fee. And you don't get as much money as you would if you actually produced it yourself. Yes, please check out the Kickstarter for Volume 2. You can also get a very cute, downloadable, make your own paper children kit. There are colored like printables and also line arts if you want to color your own. And I have tutorials in that show you how to assemble them so that they can join you at your tiny person tea party and drink from teeny tiny teacups. Anyway, and this is the teacup from chapter 7 that Naomi still has, and I still have mine. Oh, no. Don't worry about it, Tali. Comics is kind of convoluted and things change all the time. And it can be really challenging to stay up on top of everything that's going on. And sometimes even employees don't know all of the stuff that's going on because information isn't always disseminated to everybody. So that's not even something most people would know. I only know because I've really made it a point to know because I would love to work for Scholastic at some point. So if anybody from Scholastic is watching, I would really love to draw for you. Yeah, what Joseph said, a lot of people don't understand the nuances of it. And yeah, unless you're actively trying to do it yourself, there's no reason to keep on top of that kind of stuff. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up. I feel like I'm losing my voice. And I know someone is waiting to use this bathroom and they've been very patient with me. And I've begged them, please don't use this bathroom until I finish streaming because you can hear everything. So I'm gonna make that bathroom accessible and wish you guys a wonderful evening. And thank you guys so much for your support with Volume 2. It really means Gima finally caught up to the 7-inch reach. It really means a lot to me because 7-inch Kara is my baby, and so much of the work that I've done here on the channel and over on the blog is either directly using 7-inch Kara pages or is inspired by 7-inch Kara, or I use Kara herself as the reference for my field tests. So it really means a lot to me. Thank you guys. And yeah, next week, hopefully we'll have this wasn't the worst setup. I think what made it bad because I'm not used to it, so it's a little awkward. But next week we'll hopefully have the usual setup where we have the art and then the little Becca in the corner, and maybe we can draw something cool. So y'all have a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay healthy, do something fun, and do something that is enriching for you, like something that kind of feeds your soul. And heck yeah, Tanner, you know I got your back. Man, I want to give a big shout out. That's definitely someone I should have thanked earlier. So Tanner, his wife Allie, our friend Kabocha were just, what is the right word? Irreplaceable? Instrumental? They gave me so much useful insight, so much great feedback. They were able to help me pinpoint areas that needed a lot of finessing, but they were also really good at pointing out areas that were working, which for someone like me is huge, so important, since the ADHD kind of makes the bad things stand out more than the good things. I really love critique that can point out both. So a huge thank you to Tanner, Allie, and Kabocha for that help. And a major shout out to Joseph, because not only did Joseph do all of the editing on that video, he put a lot of long hours into that video to make it look good, but he also had to like goad me into action when my depression and my lack of self-confidence kind of made me be like, but nobody cares. And he'd be like, work on the story, work on the Kickstarter, get to it. So thank you guys so much for your help. And now I am burping a whole lot, so it is time to say good night, have a good evening, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope I see you guys next week. Bye, guys.